everybody. How's it going? Hope you had a good holiday and welcome back for a bit more crossing over into chapter 5 and early childhood. So, with early childhood and development, there's a lot of things going on. So, the first part, chapter 5, talks about is the development of independence from physical care to self-care and social compliance. Those are some of the things that will come up. And these are Erikson and the toddler stage, and then also Erikson in the preschool stage. So autonomy versus doubt, and then initiative versus guilt. So there's still a lot of learning and brain development going on during this time. And there's a good video that describes it. So here's a few of the beginning. Erik Erikson had quite a few of the good ones and shows you how
Helen Hansel was able to win any competition she took part in. She was known as the contest queen.
Erikson's theory of psychosocial development identifies 8 stages which a healthy individual should pass through from birth to death. At each stage, we encounter different needs, ask new questions, and meet people who influence our behavior and learning. Stage 1, basic trust versus mistrust. As infants, we ask ourselves if we can trust the world, and we wonder if it's safe. We learn that if we can trust someone now, we can also trust others in the future. If we experience fear, we develop doubt and mistrust. The key to our development is our mother. Stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt. In our early childhood, we experience ourselves and discover our body. We ask, is it okay to be me? If we are allowed to discover ourselves, then we develop self-confidence. If we are not, we can develop shame and self-doubt. Both parents now play a major role. Stage 3.
So we're going to focus in on those first 2 stages of development. And as mentioned, there is a lot going on with stage 1, that trust versus mistrust, and some of the things that come up with that. There's quite a few that we see and that they use that are important for that attachment. So here's one with the trust versus mistrust. Sometimes they cut it off midway through, but these are a good example.
Almost every species requires some degree of care and nurturance after birth. Human infants in particular are highly dependent on their caregivers for food, shelter, and protection. As babies, we must be able to trust that our caregivers will meet our needs. Otherwise, mistrust can develop and lead to lifelong problems. In his theory of psychosocial development, a developmental psychologist named Erik Erikson, who lived from 1902 to 1994, discussed the potential conflicts that can develop out of this and other stages of life. According to Erikson, we begin life in the trust versus mistrust stage. In this lesson, we'll discuss this important first stage. First, however, let's examine Erikson's theory as a whole in order to provide context. You've likely heard of the famed psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud and have had at least some exposure to his work in popular culture. Freud focused on the importance of early childhood experiences in the development of personality. He viewed development as a series of psychosexual stages that occur in the first few years of life. Each stage is marked by a sexual conflict which, if left unresolved, could lead to long-lasting psychological problems. Erikson took influence from Freud's work in that he also saw development as a series of stages and potential conflicts. However, he placed more emphasis on social interaction than sex, although he held that development can continue throughout a person's life rather than ending after the first few years. Erikson devised a series of 8 stages in the form of conflicts that we encounter at certain age ranges. Trust versus mistrust from birth to 1 year. As infants, we depend on our caregivers to provide for our basic needs and develop trust.
So that's the first one that we are going through. And so at 1 year old, our goal is to master, imitate sounds, manipulate the physical world and learn, and then sense of self begins, connected to parents, obviously. At 4 years old, mobility is used more for exploration and independence. You master the spoken language and communicate your thoughts. You might even use what's called mental symbols and pursue relationships separate from the parent. So that is some of the things you get into changing between 1 and 4, and there's a lot of development in between there. So from the biophysical dimension, girls develop gross and fine motor skills slightly before boys. So the gross motor skills are like running and jumping. The fine motor skills are like building towers and zippers. So I've noticed that with my 1 and 2 year old, she is building towers, running, jumping. Hasn't done the zipper yet. So some of the biophysical strengths and hazards, one of them is nutrition can be a strength. So in 1 in 3 children are obese before age 5, and that's above 85% on the BMI. So some people with their doctor create family goals like eating more vegetables, getting out, exercising more, and doing physical play. Some of the hazards are like asthma. We've been seeing a lot more of that with, some of the air pollution, even COVID, trouble with upper respiratory things. I've certainly had it for 7 days. Some of the psychological dimension, we have cognitive development. Piaget calls this the pre-operational stage. Symbolic function from 2 to 4 years. Can mentally represent objects like playing house, even different egocentrism. So they can't distinguish others' perspective from their own, like the 3 mountain problem. So this is a big one that I like to show a lot because it definitely kind of shows where the kid is egocentric. And let's see if I can get it in here, paste. So here's a couple of them that show the 3 mountain problem, and you can do this with kids.
Grammarly helps you work more efficiently, which makes accomplishing your work goals easier. Can you tell me what you see when you look at that from where you're sitting? What are some of the things that you see?
And a cat.
A cat?
And a tree and a bone.
Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. Can you tell me what you see when you look at it from that stool?
An owl.
An owl?
And him.
What is that?
A goat.
A goat?
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else you see?
Yeah,
Right there, what is that?
a tree.
A tree.
And that's another rivers. tree.
Another little tree. Right. And can you tell me what I see when I look at this from where I'm sitting right here?
An owl,
Okay.
an owl,
Mm-hmm.
another tree, and that.
So as you can see, he can't really.
Okay, so can you tell me what you see from that side?
A fox.
When the kid's younger, he can't see from the adult's perspective. Now they're showing this example where the kid is a little bit older, and this is where the shift occurs.
And a bone, and a volcano, and
Yeah.
a rock, and a big fat Christmas tree.
Now, Braxton, can you tell me what I see from where I'm sitting?
A bird, and a river, and a volcano, and a horse, and a rock, and a tree.
So as you can see, there are big differences in those ages, starting with that 3 mountain problem. So some of the things with psychological dimension, there's more intuitive thought from ages 4 to 7. So this is more like primitive reasoning, but not formal logic, such as the how and the why, and even conservation problems. They cannot understand that properties of an object remain the same, even though aspects of it changes. And this is another interesting video that can be shown how different these are with kids with some of the age stuff that comes up. So here's the conservation problems.
So I'm gonna make 2 rows of quarters. Okay, does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or are they the same?
The same.
The same? Okay, now watch. Now, does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or are they the same?
That one has more quarters.
That one has more quarters?
Yeah.
Why does that one have more quarters?
Because it's stretched out.
Because it's stretched out?
Yeah.
Okay, so how many are in this row?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, how many are in this row?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, are there more in this row, or are they the same?
The same.
The same?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 sticks. Is this stick longer, or are they the same?
The same.
The same? What about now? Is this stick longer? Is this stick longer, or are they the same?
That stick is longer.
The stick is longer?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why?
Because you moved it over.
So now it's longer.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me. I'm gonna pour blue water into each of these cups, and you're gonna have to tell me when they have the same amount, okay? Okay, tell me when this one's the same.
The same.
The same? Those 2 are the same now?
Yeah.
Okay.
The way it's the same.
Good. Okay, now watch this. We're gonna take the blue water from this glass. We're gonna pour it into this glass. Now, does this glass have more water? Does this glass have more water, or are they the same?
Having more water.
This one has more water? Can you tell me why?
Because that one's higher than that.
That one's higher than that one, right? Can you tell me, does this ball have more Play-Doh? Does this ball have more Play-Doh, or are they the same?
That one's got more Play-Doh.
That one has more? Let's try and make them the same. Make them 2 of the same size. What about now?
They're the same.
They're the same now? Okay, now watch. Now, does this one have more Play-Doh? Does this one have more Play-Doh, or are they the same?
That one has more Play-Doh.
That one has more Play-Doh? Can you tell me why?
You smushed that one.
Because that one's smushed. How about now? Does this one have more Play-Doh? Does this one have more Play-Doh, or are they the same?
The same.
Now they're the same, why are they the same?
You roll that one back up.
Okay, great. Mm. Okay, did we share the graham crackers fair? Is this fair?
Yes.
Yes? Can you tell me why it's fair?
Yeah, what did I do?
I have one,
You have two and I have one.
is that fair?
No.
No? How about now?
Now that's fair.
Now that's fair, why is that fair?
You have two and I have two.
Do you know that there are natural ways to
So as you see, the conservation problems can be tricky for the kids. Like they don't notice when you pour the same amount of liquid into a thinner glass, it's going to be the same amount of liquid, things of that nature. Other things on the psychological dimension here are the communication. So the comprehension happens before language. I've certainly noticed that with my 2-year-old. Like she knows what we're saying and will answer yes to it, but she can't say it back. Then at about 3 years, they can talk about people and objects that are not present. Vocabulary of about 900 words. And then at 6 years old, that's when you get a vocab of like 8,000 to 14,000 words. So as you can see, there's huge amount of development in those few years. So the first few years, especially learning 900 fresh new words, and then after that, adding thousands of words on. There is some they talk about in chapter 5, universal grammar. It's structural facets of language. The ground rules are innate. The child's mind is not a blank slate. And individual languages are a single pattern of variations. Language development appears to be encouraged by frequency and type of responses that adult speakers verbalize to children. And bilingualism does not cause speech or language problems. In fact, some research is showing that they're better off with bilingualism. In fact, it may have cognitive advantages in the long term, is what the research is showing. Language disorder occurs in about 3% of children. At the high end, it's 5%. And then half of them will outgrow that. So most will get rid of that. Here's your chart of communication progress of language development. So your first words are between about 15 and 18 months. Vocabulary spurt is pretty big at 21 to 24 months. And the use of sentences is really at about 33, 34, even 35 months, almost 3 years old. So it takes a while to develop those sentences. You only have about 900 words at age 3. Some of the psychological dimension here too are let's see here, the attitudes and emotional regulation. So this is a lot of things parents are responsible for. So with emotional regulation, we do the emotional coaching. It's a process by which a parent or caregiver assists the child in recognizing his emotions and then uses the experience as a way for the child to learn about himself and the problem to solve. So the first 5 steps: become aware of the child's emotion, recognize the emotion as an opportunity for intimacy and teaching, then listen empathetically, also validating the child's feelings, then help the child find words to label the emotion he is having. And then the last piece, set limits while exploring strategies to solve the problem that's at hand. So a lot of those things come up. Also in the psychological dimension, you have some fear. So it's greater imagination with symbolic thought. They could have night terrors and hold in emotions when they're awake. Also, preschool, they're at the greatest risk following a disaster or loss. So if there's like a hurricane or even a tornado, that can be, a big fear that comes up. Child PTSD symptom scale is research they've been doing. So, for example, having feelings in your body when you think about or hear about the event. For example, feeling scared, angry, sad, or guilty. When you hear maybe the tornado siren go off again, or even like a smoke detector or something like that, that's like scary for a kid. Other stuff with psychological dimension, and this is something that's actually a good discussion. Aggression peaks at age 4. It's a way of asserting themselves. Hazardous substances during pregnancy can increase this risk. Temper tantrums are almost non-existent after age 4. So in 2 to 3-year-olds, they react aggressively to parents who have set limits versus older children who act aggressively to peer conflict. And then young children use aggression to get something they want, like a toy, versus older children use verbal aggression to hurt one another. So that is certainly something that comes up. Young children use aggression to get something they want. Sharing by like 4 years, they have empathetic sharing, but they're motivated as a means of getting their way. And there's a few parenting style videos I wanted you guys to get into. I'm going to put this in the discussion for extra credit, but there are several in here, and they are pretty unique. So I wanted to start it out with a video first, because that sometimes is easiest, using some of the old videos from like old sitcoms is actually kind of helpful. This was a good one. There's a couple others. I'm going to start with this.
Reading difficulties? Push. Boys.
What makes a
Listen.
So this is the uninvolved parent.
Hey, Mom. Caitlin and I want to go to Josh's house. Mom, can I go to Josh's house? Whatever. Hey, Mom. Caitlin and I want to go to Josh's house. Who's Josh? Never heard you talk about him before. He's just a guy from school. He's a senior. Well, who's all going to be there? I don't know. A bunch of my friends, I guess. Well, have fun. Let me know if you need a ride. Hey, Mom. Caitlin and I want to go to Josh's house. Who's Josh? Never heard you talk about him before. He's just a guy from school. He's a senior. Absolutely not. But Mom, everyone else is going. All my friends will be there. There is no way I'm going to let you hang out with an older guy I've never met before. He's just a guy from school, Mom. He's fine. My answer is no. But Mom, end of discussion. She always lets this douche get away.
And the last one is authoritative.
Hey, Mom. Caitlin and I want to go to Josh's house. Who's Josh? I've never heard you talk about him before. He's just a guy from school. He's a senior. Well, what's going on at Josh's house? Just some friends hanging out. Well, I don't know Josh or his parents. He's just a guy from school, Mom. Well, that's fine, but I need to give Josh's parents a phone call to make sure they're going to be there. Mom, don't do that, please. Don't you trust me? I do trust you, But I need to get to know Josh's parents a bit. What do you think is gonna happen? I just don't want you to find yourself in a situation that neither one of us is expecting. Well, neither do I. Then you should be okay with me calling Josh's parents, making sure everything checks out, and then you can go.
So there's a few of the parenting styles. They put a ranking on them, and they do show exactly, kind of how that ranking can pan out, um, good, bad, or ugly, and what those different things look like. So, and this one has the child outcomes, so that's even more interesting.
Just want you to know, if you need anything, don't be shy, okay? There are no rules in this house, not like a regular mom, cool mom. Right, Regina?
Please stop talking. This is your room. It was my parents' room, but I made them treat me.
Permissive parents are generally characterized by indulgent behavior and a parenting style that is high in nurture but low in expectations. Children of permissive parents generally have a lack of a sense of personal achievement and confidence. The most common pair of parenting styles is two permissive parents.
Excuse me, darling, I'm Reese Bobby. I'm here for career day with my son Ricky.
Dad.
Hey, boy! Man, you got big. How long you been? 3-4 months?
10 years.
10 years. Man, got to lay off the peyote.
Don't listen to these people, Ricky. You're a winner. You got the gift. Always remember, you ain't first, you're last. Well, you told me that day in school for career day. You came in, you said, if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, Ricky, I was high when I said that. But that doesn't make any sense at all.
Uninvolved parenting is the second most common parenting style. It can result in serious negative effects in children, such as attention seeking, insecurity, and depression. This parenting style is low in nurture and expectations. It is characterized by apathy and distant involvement in the children's lives, where the parents have no concern for what their children are doing and are rarely even aware of what's going on in their lives.
Yep, he thought he could sneak out.
So, what now, Ho Chi Minh?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Playtime is over. Your friends are no longer allowed in the house.
Wait, what?
No, we'll talk about it in the morning.
Fine. Talk about it in the morning. We'll talk about how your friends are no longer allowed in the house.
Authoritarian parenting is characterized by little nurturance but high expectations. Punishments are often given with little or no explanation. This parenting style results in feelings of inferiority throughout the child's teen years. Their fear of failure impacts much of their decision-making, resulting in low self-esteem.
DJ, you go on ahead. Steph's a little nervous about her first day at school. I'll make sure she gets there. Sweetheart, don't you want to go to school and be smart?
I'll stay home and watch public television.
Come on, Steph, spill your guts. Why don't you want to go to school?
Because I don't know anybody. I'll be all alone. It'll be real scary. I won't know anybody. And I won't have any friends.
Authoritative parenting, which is high in nurturance and expectations, leads to the most positive outcomes in children, including better emotional adjustment and performance in school. Parents who demonstrate this style are active participants in their children's lives, showing their children support while also following through with discipline.
So you see a lot of the different parenting, which we will get into on the next class, and the different parenting styles, how they affect you. I was going to put it up for extra credit. We'll also get into how teaching children social skills and some of the strengths and hazards with children come up. So with parenting styles and on the D2L, if it lets me in, we're going to have your hbse. So a new discussion, which is extra credit on parenting styles, like how were your parents growing up, and were they, which of the four So, which of the four did you grow up with? And then a discussion from that. So, get you extra credit points and assessment for a maximum post. So, there it is, and we will see you all on Thursday.